Hi there. I just wanted to share something with you this morning about what happened the day my husband died. I had stayed home from work that morning so that I could take him to another doctor appointment. And I got up about 6:30 to go to the freezer to get my ice packs because I'd had a car accident and I needed to try to deal with the pain in my neck. So I was icing my back for a while, and after about an hour of icing and reading and stuff, I got up about 7:30 to take the ice packs back to the kitchen. And as I walked down the hallway, I turned my head over my left shoulder to look into my husband's room. We slept in separate rooms due to his illness, and I just froze right there in the hallway. And I thought, that does not look good. That does not look good. I'm like, you have to go in there. And I'm like, I don't want to go in there. He's dead. You have to go in there. So I didn't want to face it. I knew he was dead, and I didn't want to walk in that room and confirm that he was dead. So I ran back, finished going to the kitchen and dropped my ice packs off in the freezer, and then I ran down the hallway. And I stood in the door of his room and I said, Wes? No response. I said, Wes! And normally, if I yelled at him like that, he would wake up. And I knew from the color of his skin, being kind of white, palish, bluish color, and his mouth was gaping open in just a weird way I'd never seen anyone dead before. So I'm like, oh my God. So then I screamed his name and ran down the hallway to the living room to get my phone to call 911. And I guess I was screaming in the phone because they kept telling me, ma'am, you've got to calm down so we can get your address. I didn't realize because I was on a cell phone that they couldn't get my address, because I was used to calling 911 on a landline. When my kids were little, they'd fall down the stairs or whatever. I'd call 911, and for every crisis, I'd call 911. But I was on a cell phone for the first time, and anyway, I guess I finally calmed down enough they could get my address, and they came right out. And next thing I know, there's all these people in my living room. And two guys went to the back room and to check him out, and I'm just so panicked. I've got my hands on the side of my head, just pushing in my temples, and I'm pushing my head with my hand, just pacing the floor back and forth in my little living room. And pretty soon these guys come out and they say, ma'am, I'm really sorry, but he is gone. And the panic just keeps getting worse. I don't know what to do. And I wish everybody would leave, because I want to pray, but I'm not a person that would pray in front of anyone. I'm really embarrassed. I hate to admit I'm a Christian most of the time because I feel like I'm such a hypocrite anyway. Not a good example. Not Miss Popularity here, and I don't know that much about how to talk to people and be social and that kind of thing. So I was like, anyway, I just like my privacy, and I just wish these people would leave my living room so I could pray. I need help. I wanted to pray. So finally, they wouldn't leave, and I'm just pacing the floor back and forth. They're all just standing around staring at me. I didn't understand what the heck was going on with all that. And finally, I'm pacing the floor, and I finally just said it out loud. God, I don't know how to deal with this. I can't do this. Please help me. And immediately, one of the guys said, ma'am, would you like us to pray for you? And I was like, yes, yes. So I went and I sat down in my blue rocking chair, and I put one arm one elbow on one arm and the other elbow on the other arm, stuck my hands straight up. And one guy took one hand, and one guy stood on the other side of the rocking chair and took the other hand, and they prayed for me. These two guys, paramedics, prayed for me in my most horrible moment of my life. They were there and they prayed for me. I don't know what they prayed because I can't remember what it was. But I remember what happened as soon as they were done. I was like, I got to make a phone call. I stood up and started making phone calls. I could think. I could take a step in a direction of what needed to be done. And I called my mom and his mom, and I started calling people and friends to come over, which took a long time because there was a big snowstorm. And the roads were bad and the traffic was bad. 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. But I've never forgotten that moment. And there were many other things that happened that day. But I just want to tell you about that one part, that very beginning part of what happened the day my husband died. Because it has stayed with me all these years. It'll be 13 years in a couple of months since my husband died. And I've never forgotten that moment when I prayed and asked God for help. And for some reason in that situation, I needed to pray out loud. And those two men prayed for me. It was like asking God for help is my 911 now. Instead of constantly calling 911, I'm calling on the Lord for help. I'm going to Him now for help in big things like that. Thankfully, there's not been another big thing, except my mom passed away and two of my best friends passed away and my favorite cousin passed away. So I've had a lot of deaths in the past few years, and several other friends. There's just been like 8 or 10 people that have passed away since my husband died. But I've learned from that experience that God answers prayer. And He'll send it immediately in a lot of circumstances. Now, sometimes you pray and you'll wait for weeks, months, or years to get an answer. But in a crisis, He is my 911. Call on Him first before I do anything else. And He may have somebody there ready to help you if you call for prayer. If you ask Him for help through prayer. You say, God, help me. There may be two guys standing there ready to help you. And they're standing there wondering, what can they do for this poor girl? They're probably standing there praying silently too. Lord, is there anything we can do to help this poor lady? She's a mess and her husband just died. What can we do to help her? And as soon as they heard me pray, they said, can I pray for you, ma'am? So you never know what people are around you who are waiting and hoping for an opportunity to minister to you if you'll ask God for help. That's what I learned. And so I've learned not just in those crisis times, but also in all the daily issues of I'm having a hard time at work. Lord, I need your help today. Help me with this. If I'm having an argument with someone, Lord, help me with this and not blow my temper. Help me to just give me your grace for this situation and turn this around or whatever. At every situation, I'm learning more and more. Instead of praying less and less, I'm praying more and more for His help. And it turns out I need it every day in thousands of ways. But that initial shock and grief that I plunged into and had no idea how to deal with at all, He met me in my darkest hour. That was just the beginning of what my Heavenly Father did for me when my husband died. He did so many things for me. Comfort me and help me and get me through that time, and to turn it into a good thing for my soul. Turn the most horrible thing in my life into something that turned into something good for my soul. The loss is still there. It will always be there because that person is gone. But what God does is he comes in and ministers and makes something good come out of it. And I hope to be able to tell you the stories of what he's done, because they were just so loving and so personal. Oh, there's so many, and I'd love to share them. I just today wanted to share that first part of what happened, of how God answered my prayer. And that was just the help I needed in that moment. And I just wanted to share that with you today. Love you much. Receive his touch. And remember, you are loved.